Hello nerds, we are making this a quick one. Thank you for watching Generally Nerdy. This is your week in Nerdom for April 20th, 2019. We have a lot of stuff going on, some housekeeping to touch on, but first, the intro. Okay, so there is a lot of stuff I am trying to edit through. It's a little difficult for me right now because everything is still happening. So as these videos come to completion, they will be posted just a roundabout. So I'm not going to give specific dates, but I got it was like 4 or 5 interviews from Dink this year. There is a how-to Comic-Con from Dink and an Adventures in Photography from Dink, so you can look forward to that. I'm trying, hopefully I can get it done. The Adventures in Photography from Salt Lake Comic-Con last year is still in the works. I just haven't had the time to do the last segment, so that should be done soon. I am going to do another Adventures in Photography in New Orleans this year, so I will be heading out to New Orleans in about a week and a half. And I am doing Starfest again this year, and that is a week from now. So, a lot of stuff is happening. Avengers Endgame is next week. Mortal Kombat is next week. Speaking of Mortal Kombat, again, just a reminder, this month we will not be doing a proper live show in the way we've done it in previous months. This month, the live show is going to be a streaming event. So if you go over to mixer.com/freakintragic, that is my Mixer and Xbox Live name, you can go watch, or you can watch on the Green Arrow Gaming on Facebook. I will be doing a co-stream with Mortal Kombat, and that's where we will be doing the live episode this month. It's a different format, so we're definitely going to be working out some bugs. It will likely be a long-ish stream, so be prepared for about, I would say, an hour and a half to 2 hours worth of a stream. It will get posted in post up here on the channel, but until that happens, the best way to watch will be on my Mixer. Again, mixer.com/FREEKINTRAGIC. That is freaking tragic. It's an old handle, I know, but I've had it forever, so that's the way it goes. Anyway, let's get into the news. We've got a lot to cover in a very short amount of time, so not gonna waste any more time. First up, we have music news, and in music news, it's a shorty today. We have a coloring book from Gorgoroth, death metal band Gorgoroth, and link in the description so you can buy it from Amazon. Put out a coloring book. So if you've always wondered what corpse paint would look like in full color, you can do that yourself. Just a weird thing I had to mention. The only other thing we have in news is also kind of weird, but is actually news, music related directly, is Crazy Town. That's right, Shifty Shellshock didn't die. I honestly feel like I heard he overdosed. But no, apparently he is still alive, and Crazy Town is still a band in a way, and they are celebrating 20 years of their album Gift of the Game, or The Gift of Game. I can't remember where the is in the title, but The Gift of Game is 20 years old, which makes me feel really old, and they're doing a short-ish tour in support of that. It is not going to be, if you saw Crazy Town back in the day, it is not going to be what you remember of Crazy Town, because the other vocalist, besides Shifty Shellshock, the other vocalist has left the band. I guess they're calling this iteration of Crazy Town X. Yeah, I don't, whatever. So, but they are going on tour. It is just a surreal moment in nu metal history right now. But that's all we have for news. Jumping into TV news, an update on Star Trek Discovery. Season 2 just concluded. We're not going to talk about the conclusion of the show because I am like 3 episodes behind on that. But we are going to talk about the spin-off. Michelle Yeoh was talking to Newsweek, and she said that they're going to start in on production for Section 31, which if you've been watching the series, you know that is the top secret, the uber badasses of the Star Trek universe's Starfleet. It's like section, or it's kind of like in Transformers when they have, I think it's Section 9. It's kind of like that, just not funny. It's legit, like these guys are pulling secret missions and they're black ops and all that. So that sounds pretty awesome. But she says that they are going to complete production on season 3 for Star Trek Discovery proper, and then production for Section 31 will begin. Next update comes from the DC Universe app, kind of indirectly from the DC Universe app. It is about the DC Universe programming, and it is Swamp Thing. Ian Ziering, who is going to be in the series but is not playing the titular atomic monster, has posted to his Instagram a very brief teaser about, and the caption is "Try and drain this swamp." It was pretty cleverish, but the teaser is just a real quick, just a very, very brief glimpse of Swamp Thing in the shadows. And what we can see, interjecting my own little piece of opinion, what we can see is not great makeup wise. I hope this is just like an early production proof of concept thing, and the costume is not completed, or it's just bad lighting or something, but it looks really plasticky and it looks not great. Anyway, moving right along, we have an update from the Halo series on Showtime. They have cast Master Chief, and it's an interesting casting because it is Pablo Schreiber, who you might recognize from Orange is the New Black or American Gods. He will be playing Master Chief, and because he's not like a giant name, because he is not super well known for much, like Orange is a really big show and New Gods is pretty big, or American Gods rather is pretty big, but he is not a giant name himself. That could potentially mean that we will not be seeing Master Chief's face like some of us fans have feared they're going to do in this series. The series is supposedly going to be a prequel, so it is possible that we see the man who becomes Master Chief out of the armor, but I feel like if they do that, they're doing a disservice to their fans. Next up is a follow-up to a TV show that we talked about a little while ago on Generally Nerdy. It is Y: The Last Man. This is a comic book adaptation from a smaller, I believe it's an IDW published book. And it's an award-winning book. This is a very noteworthy book. We've talked about how they've been doing casting and how the pilot was shot and so on and so on and so on, and how it was making all this headway. And then FXX just announced, well, it was announced through the previous showrunners' Twitter accounts that they are no longer on the project. FXX is apparently changing paths. They want to, I believe the quote was, they are looking for someone who has reverence for the source material, but not so much so that they are apprehensive to change it. So what exactly that means remains to be seen, but that is a giant step backwards for the show. But it's not a death for the show, because the main actor set to play the Last Man is still attached to the project very, very much. That does it for TV. We're moving on to movies, and in movie news, we got a Minecraft movie Apparently this, I vaguely remember, we might have actually talked about this on Generally Nerdy before, but I don't remember specifically, but there is a minor update to the Minecraft movie news, which is just a weird thing to say, but it just got its release date. It will be released on March 4th, 2022, and I do believe this is an animated movie. This is why the release date is so far out. Next up is Shazam 2. Michelle Borth, who played Mary in the Shazam family, the oldest sibling, has revealed in an interview that she signed a 5-movie deal. So we know Shazam 2 is going to happen. We know likely that will be the combination of Black Adam and Shazam. That's where they're going to meet up head to head. But beyond that, this is pretty big news. If this is crossover movies, it remains to be seen, or if there's just going to be 5 Shazam movies, that also remains to be seen. But being as Warner Brothers has announced that they don't want to do more shared universe stuff, that very likely means there are going to be 5 Shazam movies, or at the very least 5 Shazam and Black Adam related movies. So that's pretty awesome. Next up is kind of a meta piece and is actually kind of a sad piece. If you are a fan of the Conjuring series or any of its spin-offs, the Nun, Annabelle, all of that stuff, the what is it, the Stick Man or the Skinny Man, whatever, not Skinny Man, Skinny Man's different. The new spin-off that's coming out this year, if you're a fan of any of that stuff, then you know who Lorraine Warren is. Lorraine Warren, for those that aren't a fan of the horror movies, is one of the 2 actual people that is kind of sort of the basis for those movies. She is one of the ghost hunters, if you will. She just passed away. She was 92 years old. Apparently, she has been having issues, health issues recently, and they say that she passed quietly in her sleep just about 2-3 days ago. And then our last bit of movie news is also kind of a sad update. So with the merger of Disney and Fox, or the buyout, if you will, because Disney just said, okay, you're mine now. With that having happened, we knew and anticipated that some of the projects that Fox was working on, and has been announced so far, that some of those projects are going to die. They're just not going to happen. Some of them are, it's understandable. This one, not so much. It seems that Mouse Guard, which we talked about a few weeks ago now at this point, it seems that Disney wants Fox Studios, the movie studios that they are keeping in action, they want them to focus on more PG-13 and R-rated fare and let Disney Studios handle the family-friendly fare. So, because this is Game of Thrones with mice, if you will, Lord of the Rings, or even with mice, they just didn't see a spot for it in the Disney pantheon and decided not to move forward with it. Now, that is not the complete death of this project, because the producer and the writer and all of the big names that are attached to this project are now just shopping it around to other production companies, and it looks like Netflix might buy it. Next up, nerds, is gaming. And first up on gaming, we have a very interesting bit from an old game. If you are familiar, back Xbox original and PS1, PS2, PS2, there was a first-person shooter. It was cel-shaded animation called 13 in Roman numerals, so XIII. That game is getting remade or rebooted. I'm not entirely sure, but the studios in charge of that are Microid Studios and Playmagic Limited. No real news on it, aside from the fact that it's going to be released on November 13th of this year. Next is a Mortal Kombat update, and normally I like to do just individualized videos for this, but because this is a pretty big leak, and I do have a Mortal Kombat video planned for the next couple of days, we will touch on this now, and then we'll go into greater detail when I do the very specific video for it. So the leak that just happened is a very interesting one because it's not a leak in the traditional sense, like the last big leak that we had where somebody took a cell phone picture of a computer screen and of the entire roster, and so far that roster is absolutely right. Well, this is a new roster leak of sorts in that it is all of the DLC characters that we can expect for the game throughout its lifespan, at least at this point. Some people are calling BS on it because, and well, I guess we can get into that first. Let's go over the characters real quick. We have Shang Tsung, Joker, Nightwolf, Sindel, Terminator, Spawn, Ash Williams, as in the living or Evil Dead, rather, the Evil Dead guy, Fujin, and Shiva. All have been leaked. Now, the way the leak happened is we have data miners because they're a wonderful thing, and I love you data miners. Keep up the good work. So we have data miners that now that there is some game code up on the Nintendo Switch store, they have been going through that code and like the achievements, I believe. Again, we'll go into greater detail when we do the specific video, but they found code with all of those names attached in an area that was labeled, I believe, DLC. So it's kind of cut and dry. And when people started calling BS to begin with, they said, okay, here's how you can go verify this for yourself. So multiple people have been verifying this as legit in the code. Now, can code change? Absolutely. Does NetherRealm notoriously put placeholder stuff in? Yes, they do. So is this 100% going to happen? No, not 100%, but it is very, very likely. And again, there's tie-ins. Some of these names we see in the new trailer that they released, which is what we're going to be talking about in the Mortal Kombat video later this weekend. So there is reason to believe that this will be a legitimate update. And without going to any more detail, we're going to move on. Next up is Halo Infinite. And there have been many rumors about this game, not the least of which being that it is going to cost the studio $500 million to make. Well, that seemed to be a pretty outlandish number, but it's not an incorrect number. Sources close to Microsoft have let us know that, in fact, it is going to be very close to $500 million in production. Microsoft is going whole hog. They are throwing everything but the kitchen sink at this. They have actually created a new graphics engine specifically for this called Split Space. Just a whole lot of super interesting stuff. And two fantastic things about this. First, we are going to see something for Halo Infinite at E3 this year, so in June. And the other rumor, and this one's less substantiated, but still pretty awesome to consider, Halo Infinite will include a Battle Royale mode. So, yeah. Next is Apex Legends. This is the last thing for gaming, and then we only have one thing in comic books, but Apex Legends is doing what they gotta do, I feel like. They're finally updating Gibraltar and Caustic to make them more like tank characters. The basic update, and you can find more information about it in the description below, but the basics of this update are that they now take 10% less hit damage than every other character in the game because they're tanks, and that's how tanks work. Granted, tanks are usually slower as well, so I don't know that that's ever going to be a thing, but there are a couple other updates. You can, again, check the description for what those other updates are. And our final update is in comic books, and it is about the Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 3. We just got some really awesome pictures, and I'll try and put them up on the screen. We just got some really awesome pictures, some concept art for it, and apparently the story for Volume 3 is that the two universes get combined, so we see Ninja Turtles as the Bat family. We see Batman with some new armor. We see Joker and Shredder combining. We see, I think it was Bebop with Clayface and Rocksteady with Croc, and just so much awesome combination stuff. A mashup universe of Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I cannot wait for this book. And I didn't even write down, I was so excited doing the notes, I didn't even write down the release date for book 1, but that's what we have to look forward to. And that is the end of your week in Nerdom, guys. What did I miss? What should we talk about next week? Next week, we will only be doing 1 episode because of the Starfest and all that jazz. So there will only be 1 week in Nerdom. Actually, no, next week is the live episode, so that is what's the only 1 episode because of Starfest and all that jazz. Normally, I would make this a blackout week, but it's not happening. So what should we talk about next week? If you're new to the channel, there's a subscribe button. If you liked the episode, click the like button. If you didn't like the episode, let me know that too. There's a website, generallynerdy.net. Go check that out for all of the freebies, or Patreon, patreon.com/generallynerdy. You can check that out for more content and support the channel more directly. Go check all of that stuff out. If, though, you are falling behind on your nerd news and you want to catch up, then you can click or tap the box to the left of my face to do that. But before we do anything else, guys, always remember, if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.